All right.
The floor is yours.
Let me just get my browser pulled up here.
The
My
browser
Zoom
up,
going.
get the notes out, get the team
Zoom.
stats out.
Welcome in, guys, to episode 4 of the Seventh Man Show. My name's Nick. I'll be your host, and I'm joined with my co-host, Vinny. If you'd like to introduce yourself.
We're back.
It's good to be back, and we're really happy to be doing our 4th episode, and hope you guys are having a great day today. And we're recording this on Tuesday, right after the Sens game last night against Edmonton, falling short 3-1. And over the episode, we're just going to talk about the game last night a little bit. We won't talk about it too much, but we also are going to talk about, how the first 10 games of the season went, and then our standouts from last night. And we're also going to talk about some youngsters. There's a big change, bringing up Gustafson to the taxi squad, and also Logan Brown on the taxi squad, so a lot can happen there. We'll jump into Derek Stepan trade rumors, and then also a little fun segment we have. We're going to talk about some overseas guys. There's a lot of players playing in the KHL that were in the Sens system, and we just want to talk about maybe could they be of help to the Sens if they did stay in the system. And also, we want to talk about the radio station getting shut down, all over Canada. TSN is getting cut by Bell, and it's just a lot of sad news to hear, and we're just going to touch on that a little bit. As long as it is official, the AHL will be starting in a couple weeks. They haven't set a date yet, but it's looking like it's going to happen soon for Belleville. And then, but even though there's good news on the AHL front, there's also some bad news with NHL, with a lot of COVID getting suspended games with New Jersey and other teams. So it's going to bring up a lot of long layoffs, and we got a lot to talk about this episode, and we're excited to get into it. But to begin, Vinny, what do you think about the Sens and their performance last night?
They're looking good. It looks like the team we were hoping for since the opening night against Toronto, where they got their first win of the season. They've had a long stretch where they've looked honestly out of place, Nick, and
Oh yeah,
well,
you
we
can say
it's
that
been a
again.
long time. It's been a long time coming to get their second win of the season against the
Yeah,
Montreal Canadiens, who are the top team in the North Division right now. So that was awesome to see.
yeah,
And
they
then they,
definitely played well against them.
and then honestly, it's safe to say that they could have won the second game against Montreal, and they just as easily could have won the game against Edmonton if it weren't for um, some much needed power play on the other side that Edmonton got a lot that game.
Yeah, and I think just to state the obvious, the Sens, they were able to scrape together a couple goals against Montreal, but they've been having trouble offensively the past couple games once again, which isn't new to Ottawa. But if it's not for Matt Murray, these games aren't even close, is it, Vinny?
Yeah, well, a lot of that has to do with Murray's looking sharp right now. I think like DJ has pointed out to this that Murray's feeling a lot more confident. He's getting the feel for the puck. He's getting good communication from his D-man, and the forwards are coming back to clean up the front of the net. So that's been helping him a lot. And he's looking like the goalie from Pittsburgh that won back-to-back Stanley Cups, and
Hey, you're
that's the
telling me,
player
yeah,
that's the player Ottawa acquired. So
and that's
that's
the player
that's
they
great news.
signed.
Yeah, that's the great news for them, and for a 26-year-old, you just hope this keeps going and it's not
Yeah.
just a fantastic 3-4 game stretch.
Oh, it's great to see because as a Sens fan, you get pretty worried seeing the performances from Hogberg and Murray, both much subpar 800 or sub 900 save percentage, and they weren't even close. Like Murray's had a 942 save percentage over the past 3 games, and he's still under 900 save percentage. So
Yeah,
like,
well, in the
like
first couple of games, or what was it? I think I heard in the first 5 games of the season, he let in like 20 plus goals in the first 5 games. Like he was at about like 5 goals allowed per game to start the
yeah,
season.
and
And same thing for Hodberg.
how many goals did he let in against Edmonton to start that game? I think it was 3 and 5 shots. So
That
yeah,
was 3 and 9. Yeah, yeah,
he's
3 and
definitely
9.
had his better games, that's for sure. But He's built his way up to an 883 save percentage and a 3.88 goals against average. So from a week ago, from last time we recorded, we were looking at around a 0.85 save percentage. So
And
he's definitely worked his
that just
way up.
goes to show like the people that were like freaking out, and they had some reason to do with how
Honestly,
many goals were getting
I
let
was
in, but
freaking out a bit.
it's such a small sample size that like you can see three amazing games have basically shifted his entire season's
Oh yeah.
like stats.
Well, you see those weak goals and like the rebound control on him at the start of the season, and
Yeah,
it does have some cause for concern, and I was one of them. I was a bit worried that they just signed a goalie to a 4-year contract that couldn't even make a save without letting go of a rebound. But he's really impressed me the past 3
did it
games,
make you
and
think of an Andrew Hammond situation?
oh, well, at least they didn't sign Hammond to a 4-year deal when they signed him, but um, yeah, it was. Hopefully, we get on a little hamburger run, because the Sens are definitely in need of it. But I don't see it happening like that because that was just historic. But yeah, Murray has been he's been a huge standout for the Sens the past 3 games, and without him, these games aren't that close. So
Yeah,
I think if if I'm highlighting I'd say the biggest standout and probably my only standout of last night's game, like outstanding player, was Matt Murray. I wasn't too happy with the way the Sens were playing because I know, yes, they're still in the game, but after they took too many penalties in the second, you really could see
yeah.
the tide shifting. They
Yeah, and
started
it's
strong.
like a consistent thing for Ottawa every game is it's the unnecessary penalties that were going the other way. And I think a lot of that there was some bad calls yesterday. I know a lot of people were complaining about the reffing in that game, missing calls on Ottawa because the penalties were very much favored Edmonton's side. But
Hmm.
like those are
Oh
things you can't
man,
control in a game.
it's
Like
sad because like don't even get me started on the reffing. It's been atrocious for Ottawa, and like I've noticed it all season. It's weird. I don't know what's going on. Yeah, they're getting some calls for them, but like at the end of the game there, I can't remember who dumped it in, but Stützle goes to get it, and Nurse literally just lays him out. He doesn't even have the puck right in front of the ref. And then at the end of the game, Colin White's in right by the net. I think it was or Russell cross checks him face first into the post. Net gets dislodged. No interference call, no cross checking call, but it's the draw is taken outside of the zone, and it's considered Colin White hitting off the post or hitting off the net without being assisted by Larson. It was just brutal. How like it was right in front of the ref too. But
yeah.
I don't want to get because like I don't like being too negative about the Sens, and like obviously there's not a lot to be negative right now, which is kind of surprising since last week episode I was pretty certain that we were going to be talking about bringing overseas players in to help these guys, but refing has not been helping, and Murray was the only reason, in my opinion, that that game was close last night.
Yeah. But he's
But
giving Ottawa a chance every night thus far to have an
yeah,
opportunity to win those games, which is what you want out of your backbone starting
yeah, and like
goaltender.
and DJ Smith has been saying he is the backbone. He's going to be backing up the young guys for years to come, obviously with that contract. But yeah, the Sens they fought hard last night, but I think it was pretty evident that Edmonton was going to win that game by the end of it. They were getting outplayed in the second hard, and for some reason, Sens don't have much bounce back. I don't know. I think it's probably just because they're young and like they said, they are a fragile team. But
Yeah,
when was the last time you saw Sens actually make a third period push? It's tough, but
yeah.
I haven't seen it in a very long time. So,
A
and
lot
it
of
was
that
there
that
for the
you
taking.
yeah, a lot of that it just comes to kind of like a belief factor. Like we said, they're a fragile team right now, and they just need to get that one comeback under their belt, and then the belief is gonna be there that they are good enough to come back in a game. Because right now they're struggling to just think that they can go out there and win every single night because there's a
Yeah.
lot of good teams in that division.
Oh yeah.
So they need to
Like a lot of
pile up
playoff teams in
wins.
there.
Yeah, they need to pile up wins before they can pile up comeback wins.
Yeah. Well, that's true. And but one thing though, it's a completely different team if you look at this from the first game to today's game, tonight and
Yeah.
like last night. And Vinny, what would you say those first 10 games were?
That looked like training camp to me. Uh,
Yeah,
there was a lot of players that we were surprised weren't in the lineup. There was a lot of older guys, vets that made the starting lineup as opposed to the younger guys, and we were like, okay, how's this all gonna work out? And then we're
it was
seeing now,
frustrating. Yeah.
now we're seeing now Colin White's taking the spot over Anisimov.
And he's
Doesn't
done
seem
a
like
great job. He has
he's
been
done a
outstanding.
fantastic
I've
job.
really
Yeah.
liked Colin White. Not many
Um,
flaws in his game right now.
you see Artem Zub coming in, making an impact right away.
Oh, I guess that's another standout I wanted to talk about from last night is Artem Zub. I don't know why they're hiding this guy from the Sens. Maybe to protect him, but honestly, like this guy makes the perfect first pass. I know
Yeah.
it's not uh an elite, well, not an elite, but it's not like he's not a flashy player, but it is essential to have a player like Zub on a team that can make a first pass. Like there was so many times where players like Goodbranson just chip it off
Yeah.
the glass and the puck's out. They don't have to worry about. But Zub, he doesn't think that way. He thinks that you make that first pass, you're setting up the next player to make another pass,
Yeah.
and it's just it's a train of things. You make that first pass and you're able to get a clean zone entry, and it's just that first pass. I didn't realize how essential it is to a team, but you got a guy like Artem Zub who can make that first pass,
Yeah.
and there's a couple times where it looks like he's going to go right off the glass, like a lot of bad defensemen, not bad defensemen, but a lot of defensemen do when they are under pressure. This guy doesn't get under pressure. I don't know what it is. Maybe in Russia they're a bit different there, but he doesn't panic, and he just makes a subtle turn and brushes off a stick and makes a perfect pass to someone on the tape. I'm really impressed with his game, and I can't see him coming out of the Sens top six. That's for
Yeah.
sure.
And then on that, we have to add Brandstrom, who's also done a tremendous job doing those opening passes.
Yeah, he's been great. Sadly, last night I could see there was something up with him. He wasn't playing like he was his first two games, and sadly, he's gone to the IR for 7 to 10 days from taking that hit from Archibald last night. So, but the good news is Wolanin looks like he's ready to go for tonight. We have there's no confirmation that I've seen so far, but it's looking like he's probably going to get the start on the left side there tonight. So at least that's good news. But I've been very impressed with Brandstrom's play as well.
Cool.
And
You can keep going.
okay, well, one more thing I wanted to talk about last night that I've noticed. I wasn't sure. I didn't want to jinx it or anything, but I'm pretty sure it's confirmed now that Mark Mathot is a closet Sens fan. Yes, he's from the area, but it's been sad because we lose Brett Wallace over the past week, and it's gonna be a big hole to fill. But Mark Mathot's been stepping up, man. He looks like he's trying to get that a spot with being an analyst in Ottawa territory because he's been watching every game and he's been giving out some good takes, and I've just loved seeing him on being active on Twitter. And I hope he's gonna stick around because he's just a fan favorite and he's done a great job so far with kind of filling the void of losing Brett Wallace, sadly. But I've been happy seeing the thought tweeting about the Sens and their play. It's been awesome.
Yeah. No, he would be a welcome addition to any analyst station there and
Well, it's not
having them on their
often.
panel. Yeah.
It's not often you see a Sens player return to the organization, sadly. But maybe Chris Phillips is kind of turning the tides and Chris Neal. So it's nice to see Mathot, and hopefully, he can find a spot in Sens media. That'd be great. I love his tweets. I actually gave him a follow the other night because it looks like he's sticking around as a Sens analyst, kind of. I don't know. He's doing a little at home analyst job, and I've loved it. So, one thing I wanted to mention is, do we have to start being concerned about the way Josh Norris has been playing, Vinny?
Uh, that's that's an interesting take. So you have to remember that he's still like a rookie. He's being asked to take on the number one center role and asked to make like an immediate impact. Do I think we should be worried about his development? No. I do think that maybe we should switch around, see if different players are more productive on that top line in terms of
Yeah,
matchup wise.
like Colin
Just
White,
to
he's deserved
yeah,
it.
yeah. Even if we put like Chris Tierney would do like a great job defensively on any matchup there instead of having him all the way on the bottom of the lineup. Like maybe he won't do that many goals, but matchup wise, defensively, um, he'll do a tremendous job. Maybe Norris just needs to go down maybe to the second line or third line.
Yeah, well, and
That's gonna
also,
help him matchup wise.
well, look at the centers he's been playing too. You got
Yeah,
McDavid first line, Draisaitl second line, like 1-2 punch. And you got
yeah,
Deneau and Suzuki. Like those two are great centers. And you're
yeah,
also looking at, well, now it's going to be Dubois and Shifley. Like it's tough. As a 21-year-old, that's a big task to take on, to take
yeah,
first line center minutes. And I agree. I don't think there's anything to be worried about, but I think it might be a sign to maybe lessen his role and give
yeah.
it to like an older guy like Tierney or Colin White. And uh, I don't think there's a lot to be worried about because he showed that he does have a lot of potential. And at the beginning of the season, he was doing pretty well.
I
But
mean, he's leading. He's top 10 in rookie points, so he's
yeah,
doing
no,
something right.
he's still doing all right. He's just been a bit more invisible lately, which
Yeah,
is not something you want to see. Where like Stutzla has been, catching everyone's eye,
yeah,
and he's a rookie, but still. And it's a little bit concerning because the AHL starting back up, and you got two of your top centers in the system, and Logan Brown and Josh Norris up. So, do you see Josh Norris maybe come out and go play a couple games in AHL because he doesn't require waivers to be sent down, or do you see Logan Brown sliding in underneath him? Like, or does one have to come out for the other to come in?
I don't think either of them need to come out or I think both of them can make the lineup and be given like an opportunity at that center role. Like I can see DJC, uh, if one's not working out, kind of switch between the two because they do offer an entirely different set of skills at that position. Like
Well,
neither
yeah,
of those
Brown's the
players,
power play specialist, which Ottawa needs desperately. They've been
yeah,
brutal on the power play.
yeah.
But yeah, I
Whereas
see what you're saying.
Norris is a little bit more of a smaller, more skilled playmaker guy. Brown is more of a bigger finisher type of player that you'll have there. So I think Brown could work well with Kachuk for sure. I think their games could complement each other very well with Kachuk just being at the net and Brown just shooting it on nonstop. I
Yeah,
think
and
that could work really well.
well, one thing, well, it's actually funny because Josh Norris sees himself as a shooter and Logan Brown sees himself as a passer. But it's funny that you say that
Yeah,
because Brown probably would be doing a better job finishing. He's got the size, and Josh Norris has had a lot of opportunities on the power play, and his shots just don't seem to be at the NHL level yet. He's taking one timers nonstop, and they're getting shut down every time
yeah,
on that right side on the power play. And then so we'll see what happens, but I think both could stay in the lineup. I think you're right there. And but I think that if both them do stay in, it's pretty evident that someone's got to move and someone's asking for a trade right now. If you want to talk
yeah.
about that, Vinny.
Oh yeah. Well, we've after what? How long has he been in the system, Nick? Or how long has he been with Ottawa? 2 months,
Well,
you'd say?
yeah, we'll go with two. That's pretty generous, but
Yeah. Or we're talking about Derek Stepan and the veteran that was came in to basically culture and basically teach these young guys have has
the infamous
fell not
second round
necessarily
pick.
yeah
But
has fallen a little bit out of favor. I wouldn't say out of favor, but just is looking to get closer to his family right now.
yeah,
Uh,
and you can't blame the guy. You're not allowed to see your newborn and two other kids, right? He's got three kids now and he can't even see them. If he does want to see them, he's got to quarantine for 14 days. So
yeah,
I do feel for the guy, and I obviously a lot of Sens fans have noticed that he just isn't going to cut it with this team, even if this whole
yeah,
family issue wasn't arising.
Well, I
but
don't
the
know if
fact that
that's
it
fair to
is,
say with such a small sample size, and you can tell that his like dedication or his level of commitment maybe isn't where it needs to be in order to be effective.
fair enough. That is
Is what
true.
I've noticed like the most out of his game, like watching him, like he just seems really passive. It's kind of a Pierre-Luc Dubois situation just before he got traded there, where that highlight of his shift went viral, where he didn't have any effort. He just skated
Yeah,
around for like
to a
45
certain extent,
seconds and
yeah.
just went to his bench. That's what
Yeah.
I'm getting out of Derek Stepan when I watch him.
Yeah, it's too bad because you can tell he doesn't really want to be here. And a lot of people are saying that there's issues with him and the coach, which I don't
No,
understand.
I don't
No, because
think
he's
it
literally
has
getting
anything.
ice
Yeah,
time. He's getting crazy ice time now on power play units. But people are saying that's an issue, but I don't think so. He just wants to go home. He wants to see his kids. And, I wish the best of luck to him. Dorian made a big mistake giving up a second. I don't know why they thought he was even if even if he did come and play in like his playoff self, like he did
yeah.
ending in the bubble, still don't think it was worthy of a $2 million contract with his age. And but
Or
or what did I
just
say?
be
Not did I
happy
say
that the
2 million? I
pick
meant
went.
second. I meant second
Yeah,
round pick. I didn't
just be
mean
happy the pick went to Arizona, so you know it won't get much use out of it.
yeah, well, they don't got their first round pick this year, so they're going to be relying on that second round pick from Ottawa. Or no, it wasn't Ottawa's pick, but still, it was one of their second round picks. I think they got from either San Jose or Columbus. It was one of those. But yeah, they're definitely not getting a second round back, and I think they just got to cut their losses with Derek Stepan and make that move to get him back home as soon as possible because he doesn't want to be here, and you got guys like Logan Brown waiting or he wants to get in. So
Yeah, and that's I think the funniest part out of all of that is that he might as well have just switched his number for a week and then is gonna need
yeah,
this and
that's
then
unusual. Like that was
and
really
then just have to
unusual.
switch it right back to what it was.
Who does that?
That beats me.
like they take a like he did maybe we're not hearing all the truth through the media, but who asked for a trade then decides to switch numbers to 21? But anyways, I think 27 is a cooler number. That's for sure. And I
Yeah.
tweeted it out and I stand by it. I'd rather be number 27 than 21. 27 is a dope number. Okay, but it's funny. Before we were recording this, after we finished our last episode a week ago, the Sens were approaching, I think they had just reached their ninth loss in a row. And this is when we were looking at players overseas that used to be in the Sens organization that are kind of doing well with the KHL. And we got guys like Shane Prince, Kasper Stogevins, Mikael Wickstrand, Chris Weidman, Jordan Murray, the stick thief of Kovalchuk, and Stefan DaCosta. But now looking at how the Sens have been playing, do you think any of these guys could still help the Sens if they brought them over from, or if they stayed in their organization?
Well, the last episode that we had done, I talked about how Chris Weidman was maybe a steadying presence on the blue line, but even with seeing the addition of like Brandstrom and Artem Zub entering the like centers lineup and just seeing how they've been working out, I don't see any of these players be able to come in and do a better job.
The only player
Especially
I would like to see still in a
Shane
Sens
Prince.
jersey, Shane Prince. I
Yeah,
love them, and like they did take an early second round pick to get him.
I
The
did
guy
think
is
he
a
played
he's
well with. I did think he played well with the Islanders, like after he got traded
he
from
did
Ottawa.
he did
I
he did
never
all right.
understood why he was let go. So
Honestly,
yeah,
well, the
he.
guy's 28 years old. Do you see that him ever coming back? He's got 44 points in 55 games in the KHL, the second best league in the world. Do you see the 28-year-old ever coming back?
I could see him making like a second run at the NHL if his numbers continue in that way. Like definitely, some scouts are going to be taking notice. Uh, if he's coming back to Ottawa, I don't personally think so. I don't think a player like that has anything to kind of like add onto the roster, or at
Last
least
week I
I
was last week after episode, I was definitely thinking that Mikael Wickstrand or Chris Weidman could have been helping the Sens decor. But then again, like Zub
Yeah,
comes out of nowhere. Brandstrom is up. He's playing unreal. Sadly, he's injured, but still he's there. And yeah, these guys definitely aren't going to give the support that these young guys are given. Well, I guess
yeah.
Zub technically isn't that young, but he's
Yeah,
still
he's still
he's
young.
still young enough. But
I mean, at that point, Nick, then we're not that young.
well, I feel young, that's for sure. And so one thing I wanted to talk about as well is, you know, growing up, we listened to TSN 1200 and we listened to all these broadcasters and we get to hear how awesome of a job they have. And, it kind of leads to passion like we're doing right now, doing podcasts. And a lot of these guys are people we look up to. And how sad is it to see Bell canceling these radio stations, Vinny?
It's been interesting, and it's been one of those other things that it's just a friendly reminder that how like COVID has impacted so much thus
Yeah,
far. In this, we're coming up on a year now that we've been in this quarantine situation, and it like things like this just kind of sting a little bit, just because it's one of those things that we relied on. It was one of those familiar normalcy situations that we could always tune in and listen to, and it's just one of those unfortunate things where maybe they're cutting down on budget, maybe it's for other factors, but it
yeah,
definitely is sad to see them go.
it is. And hopefully, all the people that were let go bounce back and land on their feet. We wish all the best to them. Maybe we're going to see some more fellow podcasters, and we wish the best to them. But as of right now, we're really sad to hear about all this going on, and it's just COVID doing COVID things. And I like to touch on COVID suspending these next games. What do you think is going to happen here, Vinny?
Well, I mentioned this with you, Nick, a little while ago, where it was it was multiple teams in a span of a week that we were saying games being suspended, and we're only 1 month into the NHL season, uh, since starting January 13th. So it's cause for concern. It's a 56 or 58 game schedule, and we've seen 27 games get rescheduled, and that's going to cause a lot of long layoffs between teams. I know the Pittsburgh Penguins right now have one game in a span of 10 days, which they played Saturday, and then they're not playing again till Thursday.
They're not one
And
of the
then,
teams in COVID protocol, are they? Or are they just missing because
no, they're
everyone's
just
postponing?
missing games because the Buffalo Sabres, the New
They're really
Jersey
bad.
Devils
Yeah.
have have like additional cases or have unconclusive tests, whatever you want to call it. But their games have all been suspended for until like February 20th at this point. So
It's
this
terrible.
series that teams were supposed to play, where Pittsburgh was supposed to see New Jersey three times in like 7 days. All three games got canceled. So now they end up having two games or one game in 10 days, and then the 11th day they're going to have a second game. So when you have teams, and we're seeing the Ottawa Senators, they have what, like 5 games this week? They played last night, they're playing again tonight.
Yeah,
They're
then they're
playing,
playing. Who's it
I
on
think,
Thursday?
Wednesday, Friday,
They're
and then
playing. No, they're playing tonight, and on Thursday they're hopping back on against. Uh,
Saturday, most likely, or Sunday. Anyways, like you have these teams that are
they're
like,
playing Winnipeg
yeah, they're
Thursday.
playing a game basically every other night, and then you'll have other teams in the league that haven't played, that have basically been coming off a bye week of sorts, where
Yeah,
they just haven't been in the flow of game for like 10 days, and you can see that as being like an advantage. It gives a chance for injured players to get some much needed time and practice time with the team. Maybe you can get a player back, but that's a lot of time that you've lost in the standings, because some teams will have played 15 games where you're still playing your ninth, let's say. So
yeah,
you're basically 6 games behind from every other opponent, and it's interesting to see, because it doesn't give you really a good idea of which team is better in the standings because the games played are so lopsided. So
And
it's
yeah, so
definitely
goes
going to
on
be,
the crazy season, you know.
yeah. And that's the last thing. Like the league is like at what point if cancellations continue like this and you have to continue postponing games
Yeah,
because
well,
the playoff get pushed back.
and that can't happen, you know, because then
Yeah.
you're stalling another season, and hopefully we're getting fans next season. But and like so, like this is a season that owners are already losing money.
Yeah.
Um, and you know, there's a business side of it, but you also got to think of it on a personal note that these guys are all they're all risking their lives technically playing these games, and it's I hope everyone's okay. You know, you don't want to see too many players getting COVID and basically making the virus stronger. It's sad to see because there are there are times where this pandemic can be lethal, and you know you see Rossi, he's still got problems from COVID earlier on. He's still
Hmm.
having problems with his upper body, and I think it was Samsonov or Kuznetsov on the Capitals. He said, I think it was Kuznetsov. He said he had COVID-like symptoms. Like he did actually experience the the symptoms and having like a tough time breathing and all that. But he did get a funny quote out by saying it didn't affect him because you know he's Russian,
Yeah.
which is pretty funny. But you know you got to think these are people's
It's
lives
it. It's
at
all the
risk too.
vodka.
Yeah,
The vodka.
it's
That's the
killing
trick.
all the yeah, it's killing it all. But hopefully everyone's staying safe, and luckily the Canadian division hasn't had any issues yet, and hopefully it stays that way. Knock on wood, but I hope everyone stays safe and that this can be all behind us pretty soon. Hopefully the COVID protocols are amped, I guess, a bit in the states because they're definitely not working with some of these teams, and you don't want to see this happening from a
Yeah.
business point and also a personal point. You don't want to see these people going through that.
Yeah. It's definitely not the ideal situation, but it's 2021 and it's just gonna have to be something that the league adapts to. Um, it's obviously something that they thought of at the beginning of the season. They have a plan in place for just when they have to suspend games. So we'll just have to trust in the NHL system, the NHLPA, to have like an agreement in place and just continue this season so that us hockey fans can enjoy the NHL season and have
Yeah,
some sort
exactly.
of enjoyment out
And
of watching our
entertainment.
favorite,
Yeah,
yeah, entertainment of watching our favorite teams play each and every night.
yeah. And like you couldn't say it any better. They got a plan, and I believe in the NHL to pull this off. But I think that about does it. Sens are playing tonight. There's a big game against a bounce back game against Edmonton, and hopefully we see some more offense from Ottawa. And I think Hogberg will be getting the start tonight, so we'll see how he does. But we'll should have this video up by tomorrow, and hopefully the Sens will be coming off a big dub tonight. They can do it and get their third, a big lucky number 3 win of the season. All right, so thanks for listening, guys. It's been real. My name's Nick, and Vinny, if you want to do if you have anything left to say, go ahead.
Well, my name is Vince, in case we missed out on that part. But just make sure you give us a follow. We're pretty active on Twitter. We post pretty much daily on there, especially on game nights, posting current constantly about the game. So if you want to follow our rants on Twitter, just make sure you check out at the Seventh Man Show. And you can also look us up on Instagram and TikTok.
All
And
the
if you're
same.
all the same at the Seventh Man Show, and if you guys are looking to purchase yourselves some hockey cards,
Here we go, and we know it's a growing industry. Everyone's putting
yeah,
their money into hockey cards now.
it's like if you were a kid and you were doing Pokemon or Yu-Gi-Oh, what are you doing right now? If you're not collecting hockey cards, you need to be getting on that. The link will be down below, and it does help out this podcast.
It'll help us out a lot, guys. So We'll link it in our description. And you know, you saw how much that Gretzky card sold for. Think about how much a McDavid or a Matthews card will go for in a couple decades, right? So get ahead of that right now, and help out the podcast if you like what you've been hearing so far. Helps us out a lot. And just thanks guys for listening. And if you made it this far, we love you. Thank you. All right. Well, see you later, guys.